A man walks into an office in Manhattan every morning and earns $100,000 a year. On paper, he's in the top 20% of American earners. But after taxes, and after what it actually costs to survive in his city, the real value of his paycheck collapses to $29,420. Not $50,000, not $40,000. $29,420. That's what a six-figure salary is worth in Manhattan right now. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. He's not the one struggling the most. The people struggling hardest aren't the ones earning $100,000. They're the ones earning $150,000 because they crossed the line. They hit the number. They did everything the system told them to do, the degree, the career, the promotion, the sacrifice, and they arrived at the exact income they were promised would set them free. And nothing happened. 64% of Americans earning six figures now say that income doesn't mean wealth. It means survival. 3 out of 4 of them have reached for a credit card in the last year because they ran out of cash. And more than half say they would need to double their income just to feel financially secure. Double it. These are not poor people. By every statistical definition, these are winners, and they are quietly falling apart. But that's not the strange part. The strange part is that when you look at the numbers, you find something that shouldn't be possible. Because the higher you climb, the worse it gets in ways nobody warned you about. Goldman Sachs found that among Americans earning between $300,000 and $500,000 a year, 41% report living paycheck to paycheck. 41% at $300,000. That number should not exist. And the reason it exists is the reason you feel broke. There's a machine underneath the American economy that takes money from people who earn it and hands it to people who own things. It has been running for 40 years. Almost nobody sees it. And the first people to feel it break are exactly the people who thought they'd escaped. To understand it, you have to start with the money that never arrives. Because before anything else happens, before rent, before groceries, before a single decision you make, $150,000 is not $150,000. In New York City, a single filer earning that salary takes home roughly $99,000. $51,000 vanish before the money touches your account. Federal tax, state tax, city tax, Social Security, Medicare, disability, paid family leave. You never see that money. You never touch it, but you feel it every month because it was supposed to be yours. So already, the number you tell people at parties, the number that makes them raise their eyebrows, is a lie by about a third. And that's before the second thing happens. Because the moment you take your $99,000 and walk out the door, you hit something most people have never thought about carefully. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Your salary doesn't have a value. Your salary has a location. Here's what that means. There's now a study that ranks American cities by how much $100,000 is actually worth once you subtract taxes and adjust for what things cost. In Houston, that $100,000 is worth about $85,000. Not bad. In Dallas, roughly $80,000. In Manhattan, $29,420. And here's the detail that should stop you cold. That number went down compared to the year before. It got worse, in a year when wages were supposedly rising. So $150,000 in one American city can buy a life. In another American city, 3 hours away by plane, it buys anxiety. Same country, same currency, same job title, completely different reality. And this is where most people make their fatal assumption. They think, fine, then just leave, move somewhere cheaper, problem solved. Except the numbers say something very different. And this is where it starts getting dark, because the escape hatch is closing. There's a study that calculated the income you need to live comfortably, not luxuriously, just comfortably, in the 100 largest American cities, not New York, not San Francisco, ordinary places, Denver, Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte, Boise, all of them now require roughly $100,000. And the cheapest city in the entire study, San Antonio, Texas, the most affordable major metro in America, still requires $83,242 a year. Now here's the number that should terrify you. The median full-time American worker earns about $64,000. Read that again. The most affordable major city in the United States requires $19,000 a year, more than the typical American actually makes. There is no cheap city anymore. There's only less expensive drowning. And in some of those cities, a single adult with no children now needs $150,000 to live what the analysts define as a comfortable life. Which means your salary, the one that sounded like success, has quietly been reclassified. It isn't a high income, it's the entry fee. But none of that explains the real damage. Because so far, we've only talked about the cost of existing. We haven't talked about the three things that are actually eating you alive. And this is where the story stops being about money and starts being about something closer to a trap. Economists have a name for it. They call it the financial vortex. Three expenses that behave differently from everything else in the economy: housing, healthcare, childcare. In 2019, those three things consumed about 51% of the median American household's income. Today, they consume 65%, 14 percentage points, gone in 7 years. Now, think about what that actually means. It means that even if your salary went up, even if you got promoted twice, even if you negotiated hard, even if you did everything right, the ground moved faster than you did. And here's the mechanism nobody explains. These three categories are the only things in the American economy you cannot opt out of, cannot delay, and cannot substitute. You can buy a cheaper television. You can skip the vacation. You can cook at home. You cannot skip your child's care. You cannot cancel your insulin. You cannot not live somewhere. So they can charge whatever they want, and they have. But even that isn't the worst of it, because one of those three has become something else entirely, something that has quietly redesigned the shape of American life. Let's talk about childcare. The average American family now pays $28,190 a year for childcare. Hold that number. The federal government defines affordable childcare as costing no more than 7% of your household income. So, do the math. For $28,000 to be 7% of your income, you would need to earn $402,708 a year. $400,000 to make childcare officially affordable. And the average American two-child household earns about $145,000. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. In Hawaii, families pay over $40,000 a year. In Maryland and Massachusetts, over $34,000. 1 in 5 American families now spends more than $30,000 a year on childcare, and 31% are pulling money out of savings to cover it, which means the second parent's entire salary, the one that was supposed to make the family comfortable, is being consumed before it even arrives. And here's the twist that makes this whole thing so much worse than it looks. That second salary didn't just get eaten. It changed the price of everything. Because when American families went from one income to two, they didn't get twice the buying power. They got competition. Every other family did it too. And what did all those families do with the extra money? They bid for the same houses, in the same neighborhoods, near the same good schools. So the price of the house went up until it absorbed the second income entirely. The family got twice the risk, twice the exhaustion, twice the childcare bill, and the same house. And they lost something they never counted. In the old model, if one earner lost their job, the other could go to work. That was the safety net. Now, both are working. There is no reserve. There is no backup. Two incomes, zero margin. That's the trap. And almost every household earning $150,000 is standing inside it right now without knowing the name of it. But we still haven't reached the reason the money disappears, because everything so far is just expenses. The real mechanism is stranger than that. Here's a question that sounds simple and isn't. Why does a raise sometimes make you feel poor? Not metaphorically, actually poor. Because as your income climbs, something starts happening that nobody mentions in the offer letter. You cross into higher tax brackets. That part everyone knows. But underneath that, quietly, you start losing things. Tax credits phase out. Deductions shrink. Subsidies vanish. Financial aid formulas start treating you as wealthy. Programs you qualified for at $90,000 simply stop existing at $150,000. So the raise arrives, and simultaneously, benefits leave. You earn more. You keep less than you expected. And your expenses, the ones tied to where you have to live and how you have to appear, go up to match your new position. The economy hands you a bigger number and takes back the difference through a side door. This is why so many people describe the same eerie experience. They doubled their income over a decade, and their life didn't change. Same stress, same balance at the end of the month, same feeling of running. They didn't get richer. They got promoted inside the same cage. And now we get to the part that explains everything else. The part that's actually causing this. Because all of it, the taxes, the cities, the childcare, the phantom raises, those are symptoms. The disease is this. Somewhere in the last few decades, the American economy split into two separate economies running at two different speeds. In the first economy, you earn money by working. Your income goes up a few percent a year, maybe 5% in a great year, maybe 10% if you switch jobs. In the second economy, you earn money by owning houses, stocks, land, equity, and that second economy doesn't move at 5%. It moves in explosions. Now here's the thing that will reframe your entire life if you let it. You are not competing against other workers for a house. You are competing against the second economy. When you walk into that open house with your $150,000 salary and your carefully saved down payment, the person bidding against you might not be earning more than you. They might have simply bought a house in 2019, watched it appreciate, and are now using that appreciation as ammunition. They're not paying with labor. They're paying with time. And you can't outwork time. This is why the feeling is so disorienting. You're doing well at a game that stopped being the game. You're winning a race whose finish line was moved to a different stadium. One you can only enter if you already owned something before the doors closed. And every year you spend saving to get in, the price of entry rises faster than you can save. That's not laziness. That's not bad budgeting. That's arithmetic. But there's one more layer, and it's the one that does the psychological damage. Because so far, everything we've described is external: numbers, prices, policy. This last one is inside your head. And it's the reason people at $150,000 feel worse than people at 70. Money, for high earners, has stopped being about security. It's become about signaling. Economists call it social comparison. You call it the school pickup line. Because when you earn $150,000, you don't live among people earning 60. You live among people earning 200, 300, 500, your colleagues, your neighbors, your children's friends, parents. And you see their cars, their renovations, their trips, their private schools. You don't see their debt. So you calibrate against an illusion every single day, and you lose. Meanwhile, your phone shows you a highlight reel of people whose entire income comes from that second economy, the one you can't get into, and it presents them as your peer group. So you spend a little more to keep up, to not feel like you're falling behind at the only table you finally got a seat at. And here's how it ends. 44% of Americans now describe themselves as cash poor, meaning they have less than $200 in savings. And 1 in 5 of those people earns more than $75,000 a year. Six-figure earners are using buy now, pay later financing for everyday purchases. Some of them report selling personal belongings, cutting back on medical care, skipping meals. People earning 6 figures, skipping meals. And Goldman Sachs projects that by 2033, 55% of American workers will be living paycheck to paycheck. The majority, not the struggling minority, the majority. So here's the realization this all leads to, and it's not the one you were expecting. You didn't fail. $150,000 was never a rich person's income. It was a middle-class income wearing a rich person's number. Somewhere along the way, the price of a normal American life, a house, 2 kids in care, health coverage, and the ability to sleep at night got repriced to about $400,000 a year. And nobody announced it. Nobody sent a letter. Nobody updated the story we tell teenagers about what to aim for. The number in your head, 6 figures, the dream. The finish line is a number from a country that no longer exists. The middle class didn't disappear. It got repriced. And the people who feel it first, the people who feel it hardest, are the ones who actually made it to where the old map said the treasure was buried. They dug. They found nothing. And the cruelest part is what happens next. Because you'll tell yourself, the answer is 200,000, then 300, then 5. But look at the data again. 41% of people earning $300,000 to $500,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. They got there. It didn't work for them either. It was never the number.